Hey there, and welcome back to By His Grace Marriage Ministry Podcast. My name is Amanda. Shalom, and I hope and pray that all of you are doing well today and having a good week so far. As we are almost midweek, we're almost halfway through our week. So I pray that you all are doing well today. So I actually wanted to come on today and just kind of talk and share a few things with all of you. I'm not really going to be talking or focusing on the topic that I usually do, which is marriage and family. I've noticed that a few of my episodes recently that I have recently recorded have kind of gone off in a little bit of a different direction. And I guess that's where the Ruach, the Holy Spirit, is leading. So this episode's going to be different. I'm going to be just talking about something that has been weighing heavy on my heart. It also just so happens that I received an email yesterday, and it was like right on time because this is something that has come up in my own life. And I just feel it's worth talking about. Now, I'm kind of taking a bit of a risk because what I want to talk about is kind of one of those, where they say don't talk about politics or religion. It's kind of up there in that area. I have mentioned it briefly a few times throughout some episodes, but I'm really going to focus on that topic today because I just feel led to, and I feel like it's really important. So that is what I'm going to be doing. Side note, real quick, a little bit of a negative thing has occurred. I usually use two different devices to record my episodes. For some strange reason, the platform that I use to publish my episodes gives me a longer time to record through my iPhone than my desktop computer. So I don't know what's going on lately, if it's some of my equipment, if it's my mic or something, but the past few times when I've tried recording through my iPhone, when I know that I'm going to share a lot and I need more time, it's doing some really glitchy, weird things. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, until I can get it figured out, I'm going to have to just record on the desktop, which isn't the greatest. It's not ideal because I only get 30 minutes at a time. So this episode might be in two parts. If I do it through the phone, I usually get an hour. So, which I never want my episodes to be longer than an hour. I just think that's way too long after. So I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me talk for that long. So anyways, I just wanted to note that as well. This may be two parts if I run out of time and I still feel like I have more to say. All right, so I want to actually start out by expressing my gratitude. I just want to say a big thank you to all of you that have been listening and supporting this podcast ministry. What a blessing it's been. I am absolutely blown away by the responses, the support, whether it's financially or just reaching out to talk. The amount of listeners and followers, and again, not that that's really important. The whole point of this is that these words of wisdom and these teachings are reaching people that need to hear it. That's the whole point of this ministry. But every time I log in and see, and again, I can't see who you are. I can't see anything like that unless you personally reach out to me. But to see the analytics, I think is how you pronounce it, has just blown me away. I started this podcast ministry, I believe, towards the end of October. I think my first episode was published on October 22nd, and we're in March. And I'm just blown away by how much support I've received. And it just feels really good to be able to help, those that have reached out, or just whoever, even if you haven't reached out. I'm just so thankful for Abba giving me this opportunity to do this podcast, to do this ministry, and I'm telling you, if any of you heard my part one of my testimony, I never thought that I would be doing this, especially in the area of marriage and family, something that, was just not really a positive thing throughout my life, most of my life. So I'm just really thankful, and I give all glory to Abba Yahuwah. Thank you for all of those that have been understanding during my transition in my podcast, where I went from, using the pagan names and Christianity terms to going over to Hebrew. My focus was to really be able to relate well with those who would listen. I knew that majority would be Christians because it is a faith-based ministry. And then I didn't feel right about doing it. It wasn't me, and I just really felt that conviction from the Ruach. And so I made that transition fairly early on in the podcast, definitely towards the end of season 1, going into season 2. There are 4 seasons now, and I'm almost done with season 4. So, but I just want to give a huge thank you to all of you. It really had me rejoicing and praising Abba. It's just really wonderful to see. Ministry is just such a wonderful thing. To know that you're able to help people just really brings a lot of joy to my heart, and I know that that's why I'm on this earth. So thank you all so very much for your continued support, also for your prayers. I reached out recently and kind of shared some of my own personal things going on and had a prayer request, and thank you for those that reached out, and for those that are praying, even if you haven't reached out. That is an absolute blessing to me as well, and it just means a lot. So thank you all so very much. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to start talking about a topic that I hope won't cause me to lose any listeners or followers. And by followers, I just mean you've clicked follow on the podcast, and every time I publish an episode, you're notified, and you maybe listen to it or you don't. But that's what I mean by followers, because again, this isn't what this podcast is about. This isn't what this ministry is about. It's not about how many followers or how many listeners or anything like that. It's all about getting the word of Yahuwah out to you, helping you to see the truth, helping you to understand marriage and family Yahuwah's way, helping you to understand the Torah and just how to apply that. And just bringing truth, because there's so much deception out there. So that's what this ministry is all about. It's not about gaining fame or popularity or anything like that, or even as a means to try and earn an income, as I've seen so many people on YouTube do. A lot of people will create these channels and these so-called ministries, and a lot of them do it just to make money, sadly. I'm just going to be straightforward and honest, which is another reason why I didn't want to do YouTube. I didn't want to be a part of that hype. I didn't want to be a part of that trend. I'm just not comfortable being on video yet. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous. I am camera shy. I am very self-conscious about how I look on video. I even made a joke on my Facebook page recently about that, but I was being truthful. I know that's how I look, but anyways, it's something I'm praying about and asking Yahuwah to help me with that, because it's obviously something that needs to be handled and healed. I shouldn't be feeling that way about myself. So maybe one day y'all will see me on video. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm really camera shy, and I'm really kind of saving it to where I can do it together, with my husband. I want us to do it together and be able to share together and things like that. So I want to save it for that as well. So, but we'll see what happens. If he pushes me to go out of my comfort zone, then I may have to kind of branch out, and maybe you'll see me on video one day. So we'll see. I even thought about going live on Facebook, and I was like, nope, it's not going to happen. I'm just too camera shy. I don't even like taking selfies of myself or anything like that. It's not my thing. So, anyways, totally just rambled there. So, okay, I really hope that I don't lose any listeners with this topic, but I really feel like it's something that I want to share. And again, I received an email right on time, and it was about this very same thing. And I thought, okay, maybe I should talk about it then. Now, I have mentioned it briefly here and there. And what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the pandemic and the COVID vaccination. Okay. And again, this is something that's been heavy on my heart ever since the pandemic started, because I knew right off the bat when the pandemic started that this was not of Yahuwah, although it seems to follow what scriptures have predicted and prophesied. But I definitely know that Babylon is behind it. The enemy is behind it. It's definitely evil and wicked. And sadly, it's just the start of things to come. I do feel things are going to get much worse. So again, the reason why I'm talking about this and sharing this, because something recently popped up in my life as well, having to do with this. And I definitely feel for those of us that are believers, it's a test of faith. And here's why I feel that way. So we know the pandemic started, and I want to say from February to March of 2020. Okay, because I remember I had just, not just, but a few months prior, had just come out of a job, and then I went into another one, and then the pandemic hit. All the kids had to come out of school. Depending on where you worked, it got shut down. Things just went crazy, right? And let me tell you something, throughout the pandemic was when a lot of changes and transformation and growth and transition took place for me in my personal walk with Yahuwah. So that was an absolute blessing. The pandemic, as horrible as it was actually a blessing in disguise for me. I was not only able to finally be home, which was something I always desired to be able to do ever since I became a mom, but I was able to spend more time with Abba. And that's how I was able to grow in my relationship and come to truth, and for Yahuwah to be able to bring me out of all this deception and just out of Babylon even more and things. I mean, I was already a believer. I was a Christian and all of that. But I mean, he pulled me way out, he pulled me way out. Like, I was just like, wow, was not expecting it. So here's the thing. Okay. So the pandemic hit. Then all of a sudden, just literally a few months later, all of a sudden a vaccine was created. Okay. Now, I know we're all different ages, but in my lifetime so far, I've never seen anything like this happen. Okay. We've had pandemics before. We've had breakouts before. We've had vaccines come out before, but I've never seen it, happen and take place the way that COVID has. Okay. And I knew from the start that this pandemic obviously was man-made. Obviously, there was some kind of wicked plan behind all of this. I call it the plandemic. And while it saddened me to hear how many people fell seriously ill or even lost their lives and stuff, I just knew that, wickedness was behind this, okay? When the vaccine came out, oh my goodness, I remember, because I actually traveled out of the U.S. In 2021. I went to Puerto Rico to go see family. And that at that time, and I think even still now, I don't know, I haven't traveled in a long time. You have to, go and get tested. Okay. And this was like right before the vaccine came out or was just coming out. So I remember we went to this clinic like 20 minutes from where I lived. I had to go like on the other side of town. And I'm sitting there waiting, got tested. And praise Yah, and I shared this in my testimony and in the episode Set Apart. I've never been vaccinated. I knew that Yahuwah was telling me not to. It was not from him, that it was full of garbage and dangerous things. And I'll get more into that later on in the episode. But praise Yah, not me or any of my family have ever gotten COVID. And there were times where we got like colds and stuff and we would get tested and it always came back negative. I mean, praise Yah, we never got sick. And I still to this day say it was because we trusted in him and we did not fall for the deception of this vaccine. Okay. So anyways, I remember being at this clinic and I was waiting on a family member and I'm sitting there and I'm watching all these people lining up and coming in for appointments, and they were all there not to get tested, to get the vaccine. I was so heavy-hearted and so just like, oh my goodness, what are people doing? Like, by the time we got out of that clinic and on the ride home, and it took 20 minutes to get home, I cried the whole way in the car because my heart was so broken that people were literally willing to inject their bodies with Yahuwah knows what, right? All because of what, the government was saying. And I thought to myself, can people really be that blind and not understand that not only did this pandemic, this sickness come out of nowhere, but all of a sudden they created a vaccine. They don't know what the sickness is, but they were able to create a vaccine to stop it or to cure it or whatever within months. I think it was like 5 or 6 months. I don't even remember. I know it didn't take that long. And I'm watching these people one by one getting this vaccine. And I remember I cried all the way home in the car. Thank God I wasn't driving. Praise Yahuwah, I wasn't the one driving, but I remember crying. That's how much it burdened me. And I might get emotional during this episode. If I do, I apologize. It's just something that is so heavy on my heart. Because I see the evil, I see the wickedness and deception that so many believers, this is what really makes me sad. So many believers are falling for this. And I'm just like, Yahuwah, please remove the scales from their eyes. Please remove the veil, like, oh my goodness. I remember crying until I got home, and it stayed with me. Then we came into a season where all of a sudden it was mandatory. Now it's mandatory, especially if you worked in healthcare, especially if you worked in schools or with children, even in churches, the military, especially if you worked in any of these fields. You had to get the vaccine or you would lose your job. So, of course, I'm hearing these stories, right, from people I know, and just, I don't watch the news very much. I can't handle it. It's just too negative, and I can't. But the few times that I did when the pandemic was going on, and I was hearing all of these different things, people not really being forced, because you still had a choice. You would either get it and keep your job or not get it and lose your job, okay? So it was a choice. It wasn't that you're really being forced, right? But I'm hearing these things. I'm hearing that people are having adverse effects, side effects, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, how sad is this that these people literally are being guinea pigs at this point and getting this shot, and it's affecting people worse. Okay, because not only did majority of people that got the vaccine, and now there's like, 8 of them? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but they keep coming out with all these different sets of shot every time there's a new variant that comes out. There's like all these shots now, but I'm thinking to myself, now they're telling people that if they want to keep their job, they have to get the shot. If they want to travel, they have to get the shot. If they want to see their loved ones, like go in the hospital, if you had elderly, parents or any family member in oh my gosh, I forgot, the nursing home, you couldn't see them unless you were vaccinated. When I went to Puerto Rico, one of the family members to see was my grandmother, and she was, at that time, the reason why I went was because she was being placed in a nursing home. And I actually had to say goodbye to her at the door. They wouldn't let me in because I wasn't vaccinated. When we got to Puerto Rico, one of the first places we went to, which I hate, McDonald's. McDonald's is so disgusting and is unhealthy for you, but we went for breakfast. And can you believe that we weren't allowed to sit inside and eat, even though there was nobody there, because we weren't vaccinated? We didn't have proof that we were vaccinated because we weren't. I couldn't eat inside there. I mean, it felt straight up like segregation. I was just like, wow. And I had to say goodbye to my grandmother at the door. I couldn't even go in with her. But I still wasn't going to get the vaccine. For people that gave birth during that time, their husbands, the fathers, couldn't even be in the room to watch their babies be born. I mean, all of this nonsense. Then all of a sudden it went from that to, hey, if you get this shot, we'll pay you. Now all of a sudden there's an incentive to get this thing. And I'm like, is anybody else seeing besides me through this whole thing? I mean, I have never in my life seen anything like that. Have any of you? If you have, please email me. Because I've never seen anything like that in my life, ever. Where they're actually giving incentives, or they're threatening people with their jobs or their loved ones or anything like that. Listen, as sad as all that is, excuse me, I was still that person that would still not budge to get it. If that meant I couldn't see a loved one, if that meant I couldn't travel and I'm stuck where I'm at, if that meant that I couldn't get a job, or, if they were to tell me that the public schools, because my son is a teen, he's in public school, and even though I hate public schooling, I'm totally against it, but it was his choice, and I told my son, I said, just so you know, if they ever get to the day where they say that in order for you to attend, you have to be vaccinated, guess what? You're homeschooled, buddy, because it's not happening. It is not happening. And he said, I know, Mom, I understand. I was like, there's no way we're getting that junk in us. And you know why they're doing that is because they want people to get it. And why do they want people to get it? It's not so much to stop this pandemic from spreading. There's something behind it. Okay? There is something behind it, and I'm just going to say it like it is. Okay? I may lose people. I don't know. And that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'm telling you right now, I know what Yahuwah revealed to me. I have watched. Now I know we can't always trust everything we see or hear. I know that. I'm usually really careful and cautious. I use discernment about what I watch. Now, before I go further and before I forget, I do want to, and when I watched this, I cried through the whole thing. The narrator was a little annoying. I didn't really like the voice. It sounded very like computer-like, but it was really, really good, and I cried through the whole thing. For those of you who are set apart, for those of you who are even believers and you're in transition to being set apart, I highly recommend that you watch this. It's on YouTube, and it's called Abomination of Desolation by, let me see. I think it's called officially Yas People or something like that. So I highly encourage you to watch that, and that'll explain a lot as well, scripturally and all that kind of stuff, of why we also shouldn't get this vaccine, especially when you're set apart, okay? Listen, I know there's a lot of things that have been said about this vaccine, and I know that we can't believe everything. I know sometimes it's hard to tell what's true and what isn't. I've heard everything from, if you get it, it can make you sterile, okay? For those of you who are still at that age of, wanting to have children, you're still young, whatever, I hear that it can cause issues in that area. Listen, I'm sure you all have seen it as much as I have on the news and things like that, of healthy young people, athletes, people all over the world dropping out of nowhere, okay? People having all of a sudden blood clots, heart issues, lung issues, respiratory issues, brain issues, okay? People still getting sick with the COVID, even worse. I mean, and I don't doubt that, that it's, I'm sure it's true. I'm sure it is. I know of a few people personally that have had health issues come up ever since. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have some family members, like extended family members, that got vaccinated. And when I found out, I cried. And I prayed for them. There are some that are saying that, the question is, what's in these vaccines? And I've heard it all, okay? I know that there's things in there that are unclean. I just shared a post the other day on my Facebook page about, and let me go ahead and log in so I can share it with you real quick, and I got to keep an eye on the time here. Looks like I'm going to have 2 parts. Oh, I've been trying. Okay. I shared about what's in the flu vaccine, okay? Now, I don't doubt what this says, okay? I don't know for sure that this is what's really in this, but I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like this is what vaccines have in it. I've heard of vaccine injuries. A lot of kids have gotten this. Praise Yah, my son never got an injury from a vaccine. But I've heard of this. I mean, think about it. What are in these vaccines? So, flu shot ingredients. Now, I might sound like a complete idiot trying to pronounce some of these words because they're big. So please forgive me if I butcher these words, okay? Mercury, formaldehyde, ethanol, human embryonic, which is an aborted baby, okay? Cells. How horrible and unclean and disgusting is that? Aluminum, monkey kidney cells, fetal cow serum, DNA from pig, which if you're Hebrew like me, we're not supposed to have anything to do with pig. It's unclean, period, okay? It's in the scriptures. Embryonic guinea pig cells, human albumin, porcine gelatin, which is from pig, canine dog, kidney cell protein and DNA, Muller's meteor, detergent, chloride, antifreeze, aluminum dye, E. coli, acetone, barium, cow muscle tissue, insect cell bacterial, chicken protein, again, pig, porcine, or however you say that, dextrose and gelatin. That's just in a flu shot. So I can't even wrap my mind around what's probably in this COVID vaccine. there's been, of course, rumors that in these COVID vaccines were like little microchips so they could keep an eye on you, There's been talk that it's to alter our DNA, because I don't know if any of you know, but in our DNA is literally Yahuwah's signature, okay? And again, if you watch the documentary that I just referred to you, it explains all of that in there, okay? So yeah, I mean, I'm just, sitting here trying to process all of these things that are going on. I know what Yahuwah has told me in prayer. I know what he's convicted me of. And my heart is absolutely breaking, and it still does to this day. It still does to this day, because I can't believe the amount of believers that say that they follow Yahuwah, that they trust in him, that they read his word, that they go to church, and yet when the time came to make a decision of whether to get the shot or not, they got it thinking it was what they were supposed to do. Listen, it's one thing that I'm sure of. I know this vaccine is not from Yahuwah, okay? It's from the enemy. It's wicked, it's evil, and it's a part of a huge plan that has barely even begun. And I'll explain more of this in part 2, because I'm getting ready to run out of time. But listen, for most of you that are believers, when the time came and you were working and they told you you either have to get this shot or you're out of a job, that was your test of faith. That was your test of faith right there. I understand that many of you felt that you had no choice. What was going to happen if you lost your job? You've got a family support, or you've been with this job for so long, you've worked hard and all this. Listen, I understand all of that. But just like I've said in other episodes, number 1, sometimes you got to sacrifice. Number 2, you got to trust. Where is your faith that Yahuwah will provide for you? We know that that's not of him. Anything that is from this world, that comes out of this world, is not from Yahuwah. It's from Babylon. And who is the ruler of Babylon? It's Satan. And I hate to break it to any of you, but the government and all of that is all a part of that. Why do you think they've taken Elohim out of schools? Why do you think they've removed his word from everything? Why do you think they're allowing all of these perverse and horrible things on TV and in our music? Look at the music industry. I don't even want to get started with that, but look at the music industry, how demonic it is. I mean, oh my goodness. Look at the movie industry, the entertainment industry, how demonic that is. I can't even believe, listen, we usually don't watch live TV very much. We usually just watch like DVDs, or we'll have an app because we have a smart TV, and we'll just like stream off that app or something. And every now and then when there's ads or commercials, I can't even believe half of the commercials they have even allowed. Can you imagine sitting there with your kids and something like that comes up, I mean, what has happened to our world? It is absolutely an abomination to Yahuwah, and these vaccinations are an abomination to him. They absolutely are. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. These vaccines are not good. They're witchcraft. They're evil. And I'm going to talk more about this in the second part. I'm going to go ahead and end this first part here. Stay tuned for the second part. I'll be right back with you all. Thank you for listening, and I will talk with you soon. Shalom.